Okay, so now introduce, ready,
Okay.
invite. Yeah. Thank you, Haley. I'm going to log in on the other side.
Well,
Are
wait
you
until
ready?
you log in
That's
then.
okay.
Uh,
It's recording
all right,
already.
all right, all right. Good evening, everybody. Pat Sung here, calling in from very cold Maryland. We came home last week, Tuesday. So about 18 inches of snow outside our house, and it's still there. Very unusual. I guess for you, Hailey, from Utah, it's nothing. But here, this is the snowstorm of the century. But anyway, I'd like to welcome everybody to our meeting here tonight, morning for you guys in Asia. Let's welcome Miss Hailey Helquist, and she's the senior product manager with New Skin Pharmanex. Well, Hailey, Wait a minute. Let me. I gotta expand this. I can't see us. Okay. All right. Hailey studied at Brigham Young University, where she received a bachelor's degree in experience design and management and a minor in communications. This background has made her perfectly prepared for a position as senior product manager on the device team. You're part of the WellSpa device team, if I remember right. When we first met you, you were working on the WellSpa.
Yep.
She has been at New Skin for seems like a wait a minute, a short 3 years only. She
I think
has
this bio is a little outdated. I just hit
right,
5.5.
some key product coming. Wait a minute. Of product initiatives as part of global products marketing, like the launch of HLOG, Lumi Spa IO, HLOG Well Spa IO, New Skin Renew Spa IO, and the launch of No, okay. I just had cataract surgery not too long ago. That's why I'm seeing double. Okay, she continues to innovate as part of the device team and on future uh, features within the Vera apps. She continues to innovate as part of the device team and on future products advancements. Sorry about that. I'm muffed up the introduction so badly. But anyway, without further delay, let's welcome Hailey Helquist, okay? Our featured speaker for tonight. Yay!
Yay. And then all the people can type a one. And then where are you from? So Haley will know where are you listening? Where are you calling in from?
Okay. Oh, now we jump to 60 people.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, go ahead, Hailey.
Thank you so much for having me today. It's fun to see everyone chime in on where you're listening from. So thank you for staying up late or getting up early to be able to join in. So I hope today's call is helpful as we talk about the Prism.io device. So like Pat mentioned, I have been with Nu Skin for a few years now. And in my time at Nu Skin, I've had the chance to work in a few different departments. I started out on our customer experience team, was there for about a year, and then moved into our marketing team. And that's where I started to work with devices a lot more, was from the marketing side, but then got really interested in the mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and digital aspect. And so that's when I transitioned into the research and development team, which is where I've been for the last probably about 2.5 years, as I've worked on Wealth.io and then now Prism.io. So what our team is primarily in charge of is helping to take a product from concept, so prototyping it, coming up with an idea, and then taking it to our manufacturers to actually have it built out, and then eventually to bring it to markets, to you guys, and to be able to sell across the globe. And so I would like to argue that I have the funnest job at Nu Skin, but I'm really passionate about what I do, and I am so excited to be able to talk to you about our latest innovation, which is Prism.io. Let me make sure I can share my slides. Let me pull those up. Hey, thumb up. Can we see them? Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, awesome. Prism.io, let's talk about it. I think hopefully most of you are familiar with it already. And so I'm hoping that this session we can dive a little bit deeper. I know that there were some questions that were sent over. So I'm going to do just kind of a quick run through on the technology, our latest clinical studies, and some of our best practices for scanning. And then we can jump into maybe a Q&A session and make sure I cover all the questions that I may not have gotten to as part of the presentation. So Prism.io has been such a fun project for our team to work on. I won't go into the details too much, but again, the ask from our team was, hey, how can you make our current biophotonic scanner smaller and easier to distribute and get into the hands of more people across the globe? How can we help to share the story of nutritional wellness with more people and help to change more lives? And so that's where our team came in. We looked at a variety of different technologies of ways that we could get the device into a smaller form factor, and ultimately landed on this design and spectral ray technology, which is what we use in the Prism.io device. And as part of that transition, we were able to move away from having really big complex hardware, right? The biophotonic scanner was pretty big. It started out being the size of a room. And then we slowly were able to bring it down to a smaller and smaller form factor, right? The S3, I wish I had one with me right now, but right, it's probably about this big. It is not light. But what was good about the S3 was it was very hardware focused, very hardware heavy. And the software to run the device was not as intense, right? It was very basic functionality to actually run the device. When we switched to Prism.io, we took it a different approach with it. We said, hey, we think there are simpler components or simpler hardware that we can use, but leverage really complex software and algorithms and the way that the device thinks and functions to be able to measure carotenoids. And so that is why we are able to get it into such a smaller form factor, was because we are leveraging AI more, technology more from a digital standpoint and a software standpoint. So it's been a great experience for us. And I hope you know that as we walk through this whole presentation, even though Prism.io has launched, we are still continuing to learn and innovate with the device. This is not the end. For my team, we are just starting to dive into the insights and data that we're collecting as people are scanning. And so again, Prism.io, right, being able to change the technology and get it into this form factor, we were able to reduce the scanning time to 15 seconds. It may not seem like a lot, but for us, this was a huge step forward into not only measuring the same biomarkers as the S3, but being able to do it even faster and in a smaller form factor as well. But I do want to take some time today and just talk about the technology a little bit more in depth, just to make sure. I know there were some questions about the LEDs that we are using and what they are measuring. And so let's talk about spectral ray. And so again, if people ask you what powers the Prism.io device, your answer is it's our spectral ray technology. This is proprietary to Nu Skin. We have a patent that is pending on this technology. And what the technology is made of are three different components to it. We have the hardware side, like I mentioned, and the hardware is what's physically inside of the device. If you were to take it apart, right, and look at the inside of it, what would you see? And we use something called hyperspectral absorption. And what that is utilizing 5 LEDs to be able to shine light into the finger. And we measure how much of it is absorbed. And so here we can go and see, this is kind of like a zoomed in visual of what that technology is inside of the device. So inside of Prism.io, we have those 5 LEDs that I mentioned, and each of those LEDs has a different function. There are certain biomarkers in the skin, in the body, that have a light component to them, meaning that they can either reflect light or absorb light. Not everything does, right? Which is why carotenoids are very unique to be able to measure, is because they are one of those biomarkers that does react with light. And so when you shine light at a carotenoid, a certain wavelength is actually absorbed by it. And there's tons of science on this. This is even outside of Nu Skin, right? Just talking about light in general, wavelengths, and how they interact with biological matter. And looking at that science, right, there's a certain range that carotenoids absorb light at. And so when we were developing this device, we have 2 LEDs inside of here that are specifically targeting carotenoids at those specific wavelengths. So we said, okay, we know carotenoids absorb at this wavelength. Let's go ahead and capture the low end of that and the high end of that with those 2 LEDs. And then from there, there's a lot of other stuff that goes on in your skin and other biomarkers that absorb light as well. And so things like melanin and hemoglobin, so your skin and blood, are different biomarkers that also react with light. And so as part of this process, we said, well, let's make sure that we are just measuring carotenoids. And so with that, we wanted to add in 2 additional LEDs that are used to look at specifically melanin and hemoglobin at the known wavelengths that those analytes absorb at. And so that's where we get the culmination of those different LEDs. I mentioned 4, but we do have 5 LEDs. 2 of them are the same wavelength. We just use 2 of them for more intensity, more light. But that is what makes up those 5 LEDs inside of the device. So again, those were very scientifically backed and chosen for very specific reasons. But again, all at the end of the day to look at and target carotenoids in the skin. So now what we do is we have those 5 LEDs, and you can see, don't look at it too closely. You shouldn't shine the lights in your eyes, but when you scan, you can see that those lights are flashing back and forth at a very, very fast rate. What we are doing is we are flashing those, and we are taking measurements from 2 photodiodes. And what a photodiode is it's a way of measuring light and converting it into a number. So being able to quantify the amount of light seen. And so the first photodiode on top measures the light on the way up into the skin. So how bright is it? And then the second photodiode measures the light on the way back down from the skin. And now inside of the skin, right, we're absorbing some of that light when we're looking at these different analytes. And so some of that light will stay up in the skin, get lost in the skin and scatter. And the rest gets reflected back down into the other photodiode. And we measure that difference. We take the before and we take the after. And what we get back is a very, very small number. We're talking tiny, tiny decimals. But this right here is what hyperspectral absorption is. This is the hardware and how the hardware functions inside of the device. Now, if we go back to spectral ray, right, we have 2 other components to this technology. So we get those measurements from those LEDs. And then what we do is when we were developing this, we said, okay, here's how hyperspectral absorption reads carotenoids in the skin. Now, how does Raman technology measure carotenoids in the skin? So we took our biophotonic scanners, utilized that Raman technology. We've been scanning with them for the last 20 years. We have over 21 million scans. How can we make these 2 correlate, right? How can we take those hyperspectral absorption measurements and convert it into a score that is similar to Raman technology? Because Raman has been the known technology used to measure carotenoids. And what we did was we actually just used a machine learning model. So we tried about 40 to 50 different models, and we put all that hyperspectral absorption data and matched it up with Raman technology data. And we said, okay, make an algorithm that will generate a score. And so there took a ton of trial and error. We did a lot of different tests, looked at it several different ways, and again, used over 40 different models to find the one that worked the best. And that's where we were able to then take those light measurements and actually convert it into a score. We use that AI algorithm. So it created an equation that we then actually run every single time when you do a scan. And so that is what makes up the spectral ray technology. We could not have done this technology. We could not have done hyperspectral absorption without the use of Raman technology and knowing what we know about Raman technology. LEDs aren't an uncommon way of measuring health analytes, right? We see it in rings, we see it in watches. LEDs are used throughout the industry. But what sets us apart is, again, our background in measuring carotenoids, right? And using equipment like the biophotonic scanner to be able to gather insights and measure people globally for the last 20 years, and seeing how the different impacts on lifestyle, diet, and exercise all change your score. So with that, we were able to create this technology. But for those who maybe are not as technically inclined or say, hey, this is a lot, I don't know how to explain it, a high level version of this, right? So that we went really deep into how this works. But the high level story is when someone says, well, how does Prism.io work? You can say, hey, we use LEDs to measure. We bring in the expertise that Nu Skin has in the industry of over 20 years of looking at antioxidants and carotenoids. And then we have a proprietary AI algorithm that was used to help calculate the score. So light, expertise in antioxidants, and AI algorithm. And that is what makes up the Prism.io technology. And so with that, and again, this is really where we put our focus with the Prism.io device, was all in that software, right? The AI algorithm, how the device measures, how it runs the equation, all of that is very, very complex, all inside of the device. And what I would say is our secret sauce to how we measure carotenoids with Prism.io. So hopefully that's helpful. But again, just those 3 different components are what makes Prism.io unique and measuring carotenoids. We'll go ahead and skip through. So next what I want to talk about is, went a little too far. When we were creating this device, the first question was, okay, well, we came up with this spectral ray technology. How do we even know that it works, right? Does it measure carotenoids or not? And what we did was we took about 50 people and we had them, it was just a Prism prototype at the time. We took the prototype, it was in like a styrofoam square. It was not pretty. But we said, hey, let's get 50 people and have them measure on the biophotonic scanner and measure on the Prism.io prototype. And then we also had them take LifePak at the same time. So we had them measure at weeks 4, 8, and 12, and they did both measurements. And what we saw was there was a similar increase in score over that time frame. And this was really affirming to our team, right? We switched technologies, we did it a completely different way, but we were still measuring a very similar increase in score based on supplements taken at those intervals. And so this was what kind of gave us the proof of, hey, this device works, this technology works, let's run with it. But why I share this is because you'll get a lot of questions if you haven't already, or maybe you have these questions yourselves, is why does the Prism.io device not give me the exact same score that the biophotonic scanner did? And there's a few different reasons for this. One is, again, we're using a very different technology, right? If you go and take a blood pressure monitor from one company and use another, or you buy 2 different pulse oximeters, you will most likely get a different reading. It will be similar, but it'll be different because there's different ways of calculating, different ways of looking at those analytes. We are also measuring on a different spot, right? So with the biophotonic scanner, we were measuring on the palm. We have now switched to the finger, but this was studied, right? Before we made this change, we made sure that the finger was just as accurate as a gauge for your antioxidants in your skin as the palm. And so those are probably the 2 biggest differences. But then again, we are also calibrating the device differently and measuring a little bit differently. But the takeaway here is that we are measuring carotenoids like the S3 and seeing similar increases at similar time points as well. And so again, you see a 46% increase on the Prism.io device and a 43% on the biophotonic scanner. But this isn't all. Hopefully you started to see some of the clinical results that we've begun to publish. But I wanted to share that was, again, what we had done originally to kick off the project. Now that we've had it developed, it's been launched, we've continued on our clinical research. It hasn't stopped, and it will not stop because there's so many other things we can start to look at with this device. But we recently got our clinical results back from a blood study that we did. So when we developed the biophotonic scanner, we went and we measured against blood. And what that means is we had some people come in, we drew their blood, and there's blood serum carotenoids in there that you actually have to take a test tube with and spin it to separate the plasma to be able to go and measure actual carotenoids in the blood. And so we did that with the S3. The S3 had a high correlation of blood. We then measured the S3 against the Prism, right? And that we saw was highly correlated. The last step for us was to then go and say, okay, now let's measure Prism against blood. And so that's the results that we just received back. And we have a very, very strong correlation with blood against the Prism.io device. We have a 0.77 correlation, which is an amazing result, especially if you consider 1 as being perfect. This falls right in line with where we were on the biophotonic scanner as well. And so, again, this just goes to show that we are measuring carotenoids in the blood and doing it with this different technology. So this just gives us confidence, gives you confidence in the results that we are sharing and the technology that we are sharing with the world. So we have a study that has been published on this, a paper. This should be available as part of your assets that are available to you. But we are super excited about this. And again, this is just kind of a huge accomplishment for our team, but also a confidence boost in us going forward and starting to measure additional things, right? Or looking at how carotenoids are impacted in other ways. So we have a few other studies that are starting to get kicked off and a few others that are wrapping up as well. So make sure you're staying up to date on New Skin Product Insider and Asset Library for the latest clinical studies and results. And again, we have tons of research on here. We have more than 80 papers that back the technology behind the Prism IO device. So this is very highly studied, even though it's proprietary technology to us. There's other papers out there that back the use of light and measuring analytes, right? So this is not something that is understudied, right? We are very confident in the technology and science that goes behind this device. But as part of this, one thing that I think is really important is, again, we are measuring the carotenoids in the blood, but what we can't forget is that while this device is really small and very easy to use, right, we wanted to make sure that it was simple, anyone could use it. We also want to make sure that the device is treated as a high science, high precision device as well. We are measuring such small analytes in the skin. Carotenoids, right? When you think of the spectrum of numbers that we could generate, scores that could be generated from the algorithm, that scale is infinite, right? We only display a small range, but that math, right, is infinite. And so the ability for us to measure analytes on a scale from 100 to 1000, right, it takes very precise equipment. And so when you move your finger or maybe don't treat it as a high science device, you might start to see some different results. And so what I want to talk to you next about is some of those best practices that you can use to make sure that you are getting consistent scans every time. Similar to a blood pressure device, right? When you go to the doctor and you get your blood pressure taken, you need to make sure your legs are uncrossed. You need to make sure your arm is relaxed. You can't have a big coat on, right? Or something. It needs to be tight on your skin. Similar to how you have to follow those best practices with that device, we also have best practices in order to get the best measurement and best results. And so with that, these are the steps that we recommend for getting the most consistent scans. So again, this device is highly sensitive. Make sure that when you're storing it and putting it in the case that it came with, not throwing it around, right? That lens, you want to make sure stays clean and protected so it doesn't get scratched. But the first step when it comes to scanning is make sure that your finger is clean and dry. We recommend, if possible, to wash your hands before you scan. We realize that is not always a luxury, right? Especially if you're out and about and talking. But making sure that you at least wipe your finger off on a napkin or a piece of clean fabric. I think we don't realize, how often you just have eaten, you put on lotion, you've touched something that's a little greasy, right? That can impact your score because, again, we are measuring such a small difference in light in your skin that those variables can impact that score. And even my team, yesterday I was doing some scans and I forgot I put lotion on. So I remember going, what? My score seems weird. And then as soon as I wiped my finger off from the lotion, I just put on, everything normalized. I was like, oh, that's right. So even I forget, but it's important that you always make sure that you wipe that finger off before you scan. So you make sure that you're getting consistent results. You also need to wipe the lens on the device. Fingerprints get on there, right? If someone has just scanned that maybe did have something on their finger, that can be leftover residue on the lens. And so before each scan, make sure that you use that microfiber cloth, wipe the lens. It takes a second, maybe less to do that, but that will also really help your scan results. The other thing too is the device is so fun to hold up and show because, again, it's so small, handheld. We love that it's easy to use and easy to carry, but holding it while scanning may introduce some other variability. If you're holding it up and putting your finger on there, right, you may have uneven pressure, you're moving it as you're talking. And so for, again, best results, make sure that device is on a flat, stable surface. It's best if you are seated because that just helps keep even pressure over the lens. Again, we understand that may not always be a possibility, but at least make sure the device is on a stable surface. It's fun to hold it up for social media, and I do it all the time too, just to, showcase it. But if you're looking for an accurate scan, make sure it's on a table. You also want to make sure that your lens or your finger is flat over the lens. I see a lot of people that come in maybe pointed like this, right, and want to measure the tip of their finger. Make sure that it's coming in flat. And again, you want to be measuring kind of the center of your index finger. and make sure that your finger is centered over the lens. Sometimes if it's half covering it, right, that may introduce a little bit of variability on there. But make sure it is coming over it flat. The other thing too that I see a lot is people love to press really hard, right? And when you press hard, your finger kind of blanches, right? It changes color. And that's because you're pushing all the blood out of your finger. We really encourage that you keep just gentle pressure on there. You do not need to press hard. It's very, very light pressure. When I see people doing that, I just say, oh, you don't need to press that hard. You know, you can lighten up that pressure a little bit. But keeping that light pressure on the lens will help with the score stability as well. And then lastly, with the finger in position, a lot of people will ask, well, can I scan other fingers? When I scan my index finger, my middle finger, ring finger, right, I get different results. And our answer to this is yes, you will get different results because carotenoids distribute differently throughout the skin. Just like your fingers do not have the same fingerprint on each of them, they're each different. The tissue thickness and distribution of carotenoids in the skin varies finger to finger. And the goal here isn't to understand how your whole body looks, right? The concentration of carotenoids. It's take that one variable, that finger, and track your progress over time, right? So if it's a middle finger or ring finger, you want to make sure you're keeping that consistent because the goal is progress, the goal is change, right? Over time, how are you improving? And so keeping that finger the same will help you as you track your progress. So use the same finger every time you scan. And then again, other things, just making sure you're holding still while you're scanning. Right, people like to talk and chit chat, and sometimes, you know, if you're moving around while you're talking, that may influence the scan as well. But it's just 15 seconds. But when you follow these best practices, we see a tremendous improvement in score stability and consistency over time. But again, the key thing here is to treat the device as a high science piece of equipment because it is, right? We are measuring such small analytes in the skin. That following these best practices is strongly recommended in order to see the best results. You may see some variation though, and some of that is normal, right? If you scan today and then you scan tomorrow, your score may change a little bit. I wouldn't expect it to change more than 100 points, but it may vary, and that's because your body's changing, right? Something that's really exciting about Prism.io that we didn't get the chance to have with the biophotonic scanner is scanning more often. And more regularly, right? And being able to see the change. And so as we're doing that, our team is looking at the data very closely, trends and things like that to help understand what other factors influence the score, what causes it to go up and down. Even just among my team, right? We talk about, oh yeah, I was sick last week, or I stayed up super late this week, I didn't get a lot of sleep, or I'm under a lot of stress, or hey, it was the holidays and we ate a lot of treats. All those things we are seeing start to have impact on the score. And so change is expected and change is normal for this as we are looking at such a small number on there. If you're scanning back to back, I wouldn't anticipate it changing more than 50 to 80 points. If you do want to scan back to back, our recommendation is to just give it maybe about a minute. Again, if you're pressing your finger hard for a very long time, right? If you scan again, that will change your finger. And so making sure that you take a break and let your finger normalize again before you scan will be really important as well. But we're working to add more of these instructions into the app and helping to make it a little bit more intuitive as people learn to scan and learn the best practices for scanning. Quickly on your score, right? There are 4 different elements that kind of make up your score, which I've highlighted a little bit. But we've learned this from our 20 million plus scans with the biophotonic scanner. And then we're starting to do studies that look at each of these different areas as well, right? So we know supplementation really impacts the score and is something that is constant, right? Life changes, you get busy, you can't always eat the same foods or exercise at the same frequency, but something that you can be consistent with is supplementing and making sure that you are giving your body the support that it needs to support our crazy lives. But these are the 4 areas and factors that really contribute to that score. This is an updated chart for those of you who have been with Nu Skin for a while may recognize something similar from the biophotonic scanner days. But this has been updated with Prism.io data. And so again, understanding what that score means and the different factors that can impact that score. The percentages also have been updated to reflect the global population with the PRISM-IO scores as well. But again, those in the red zone, right, we're talking about they maybe don't eat as many fruits and vegetables, they maybe smoke, have high BMI, don't exercise as often, while those on the purple side are focusing more on eating fruits and vegetables, sleeping well, low BMI, and exercising. And so you may have people that come to you and they scan and maybe they're in the yellow or orange, right? And they're like, but I eat super healthy. We have to remember, right? Eating healthy is just one factor of this, right? There are other elements to your score that can impact it. And so a lot of the times when I talk to people and they may be like, whoa, I thought I'd be purple. I eat super healthy. Once you start asking, well, how's your stress level? Did you just travel? Are you sleeping well? Most of the time they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm not good at those areas, right? And so this is what we're trying to continue to tell a story and emphasize even more with PRISM-IO. It's how this is about overall nutritional wellness, right? This isn't just about supplements. It's not just about food, but it's about the holistic picture, the bigger picture of wellness and taking care of your body. And so from here, we have also done some studies too that with the PRISM-IO device that correlate score to diet, right? And so we had a bunch of people come in. The study was done in China, and we had them take a survey about their diet and what they typically eat. And those with a high score were typically eating whole grains, vegetables, nuts, right, eggs. And those with a lower score were eating more red meat, sugar, sweets, alcohol, things like that that decrease their score. Not only did we look at diet, but we also looked at UV exposure. And so people who are out in the sun a lot, not wearing sunscreen, had a statistically significant correlation to lower scores. People that were sleeping poorly also had a correlation to lower scores. And then those that exercise regularly had a correlation with higher scores. And so this is just the beginning, and I wish I could tell you more. I'm so excited to give you more results as these studies come out, but we are looking at things just beyond supplements. And that's what I think is so exciting about PRISM-IO, is being able to expand that story and to be able to help educate people more on what their score means, to again help encourage change over time and encourage that wellness journey. So lots of great studies coming out. Make sure that you're staying up to date with Product Insider and the Asset Library when we release those results. This post, I think it was posted today or sometime this week, but this is how the breakout is looking right now of PRISM-IO scores globally. This has been fun for us to watch and monitor. So again, only 9% of the global population is in the purple range. More than half of our scans are falling into kind of the red and yellow range in between there. So there's tons of opportunity here to share this story and to be able to help encourage change, right? And help people live happy, healthier lives. One other thing about clinical studies that hopefully gets you excited for more things to come is not only have we been looking at wellness attributes, but we've actually been looking at some beauty things as well. And so as part of one of the studies that we did is we took some pictures with a clinical camera. It's called a Vizia camera that goes and looks at skin tonality, different factors on the skin and appearance. And what we saw was that when people had a higher score, they typically had smoother looking skin, more hydrated skin, less wrinkles, and just had more vitality, energy in their skin. And so this ties back to our new skin story, right? Beauty from the inside, right? We are taking that approach of, what you put into your body reflects on the outside. And so this is a great tie-in, especially with collagen, being able to say, hey, look, not only does collagen have carotenoids in it and can improve your score, but having a higher score also reflects better cosmetic appearance, right? And then you have all the amazing claims that come from collagen to help with skin as well. So it's just a great complete story with our supplements, as well as bringing in that beauty element as well. So more things to come on this, but again, I hope you're getting the vision that what we're measuring with carotenoids is just the beginning in terms of the story that we can start to tell and the insights that we can gather. Really quickly, because I know we're running short on time, but I just want to make sure that we've talked a lot about PRISM, and it's like maybe you're feeling a little overwhelmed, or hey, how do I tell this story? this, I think, kind of breaks down the key points to Prism quite nicely. When someone asks, what is so great about Prism.io? Why do I care? What's unique about it? Again, our science, we talked about how Nu Skin's been an expertise in the industry for over 20 years. We built this device to specifically measure carotenoids, right? There are other wellness devices out there that measure a plethora of other analytes, but they're not honed in on just one and experts in one, right? When you measure a lot, you're not an expert in all of them, but we have designed this device specifically for measuring carotenoids. It's an exclusive technology, right? Unique to Nu Skin, patent pending on there. We not only give you a score, but we also give you recommendations, solutions. We don't say, oh, you scored really low. I'm so sorry. Like, wish you the best of luck, right? No, we have a portfolio of products that people can choose from to match their goals that they're looking for and to increase their score. And so bringing in those insights and making them actionable, right? And so we have that whole ecosystem. And then those supplements, right, are clinically proven and backed to be able to increase your score as well as provide the associated benefits with it. So that, I feel like in a nutshell, is really what makes Prism.io unique and sets us apart from everyone else. And again, solution, right? We have all these supplements. I know there are lots of different markets represented on the call, but hopefully for those of you out there, some of you have probably Life Pack Elements that will be coming, which is an amazing product. If you haven't been able to try it, hopefully you can soon, but we've done some studies on that that are really exciting. We'll be able to share soon. But of course, you have your collagen and your Life Pack, right, that are kind of our foundational products for increasing your score, right? Youth as well. But we have a great portfolio of products. And then the app will also recommend products, right, based on your goals and your score to be able to provide you with the best solution for you. And then super quickly, I want to touch on the app before we end. Hopefully, if you've had a chance to be able to download it or try it out yourselves. But again, want to reiterate that even though we've launched this product and launched the app, we are not done developing. Our team has a whole roadmap of features that we are so excited to bring to you. We just wish we had, we could give it all to you right now, but make sure you keep your app up to date. As we will probably be releasing an app update once a month for the next few months. So our latest app update allows for you to be able to switch between member and retail price. So this has been a feature that's been asked for. And then not only can you switch back and forth between those pricings, we also have the ability for customers to be able to access this app. And so I know there was a question about who can access the app. You do have to have a Nu Skin account to be able to log in, but customers can go and create a Nu Skin account if they don't have one already, and then use those credentials to be able to log into the Prism.io app. And then they can see their scores and track, get product recommendations, and be able to share their scores. And then in terms of what's coming next, we have a lot of features. Some things I do want to highlight though are we've had the request of adding in household members. So being able to track your spouse, your kids, right? People that you may live with that may not be guests, right? Or people that you are actively prospecting with or talking with. And so we want to bring that feature in. We're developing that right now. We're also looking at things like we're going to call it a true score, which is gives you an average of your scores over time, right? So your score may fluctuate, right, as we've talked about, but being able to give you kind of an average score so you can track your trends a little bit better. Being able to see your trends over time is something we're starting to build. And then also being able to compare your score against maybe people in your same country, right? So, hey, my score, is in the 400s. How does that actually compare to people my age in the USA, right? And bringing in that context and helping to paint a bit bigger picture about what your score means in relation to those around you. We're also looking at things like more in-depth assessments to be able to give you better product recommendations and a whole load of other features. So hopefully you're now excited, and make sure that you keep your app up to date so you can always receive the latest features. But yeah, watch for that app update about probably once a month. You'll be seeing that come through. With that, I think that we have maybe a few minutes left for questions. I'm going to refer to some questions that were sent earlier. I got a list of them, so I'll just start to kind of go through them. The first question was, how often do I need to recalibrate? In the app, you will get a prompt to recalibrate about every 2 weeks. But what we do encourage for best practices is if you've traveled or if you put it in a car that maybe got really cold or really warm, or if you're about to scan at a very large event, we would always recommend recalibrating. It takes about a minute to do. It's very fast. But those are kind of the key indicators for when I think you should recalibrate. But if you've kept it in the same location, right, about every 2 weeks is when you'll need to recalibrate. Another question is, how do I know when I need to recharge the Prism IO device? There's an indicator light, that first red indicator light on the device. It will flash 3 times before each scan when it's in a low battery state. If you updated your app to the latest app update, we also have a battery icon in the app too that will give you an indicator of how much charge is there as well. We have 4 bars in there. So 4 is full. And then when you get down to 1, it'll turn red. And so you can check the app as well to know your battery status. A lot of questions about consistency and how scores vary. We're actually doing a study right now that hopefully we can share the results soon, comparing Prism device, multiple devices, and scores across them. And they're looking really tight. Variability is very small, but the caveat here is I get a lot of people saying, oh, I scanned on so-and-so's device and then I scanned on my device and they were different. The thing with this is, again, follow those best practices. The lens may not have been clean. Your finger may have been a little dirty, right? But then also making sure that it's up to date and calibrated, right? So if someone hasn't calibrated their device in a while, that will impact the score. One feature that we're hoping to launch, I believe, next month will be a way to check your calibration. So you could actually go and do a quick scan and it will tell you and say, yep, your device is calibrated, good to go. Or say, actually, you do need to recalibrate it. So hopefully that can bring in a little bit more confidence as well with how you're scanning. But making sure you follow best practices and the devices are calibrated, you will see very consistent scores across. Some variability is expected, right? Each device is different and unique. But the variability does minimize a lot when those practices are followed. We talked about the LED lights. One question was, there are different factors, right, that we've talked about, lifestyle, supplementation, things like that. Right now, we are not breaking those out explicitly, right? We know that they all culminate into a score, but we are not right now listing out how those each of those factors into your score. That's something we are starting to look at, but we do want to provide more insights into your score, right? So being able to say, hey, you scored in the red area. We do already list, some things that contribute to that score, but we will continue as we get clinical studies back, as we build out the assessment more, being able to provide you with more detailed information on how you can improve is top of mind for us. I think, let's see, another question was, you've got one Nu Skin account, but you have 2 devices underneath there. You want to be able to track the scores separately. Right now, we do not support that functionality. It is just all under one account, but it's very easy to go and create an account. You do not need an affiliate ID right now. You won't have the all the affiliate features if you go and create a customer account, but you'll at least be able to track your score over time. And so I would recommend doing that. We don't have that on our roadmap right now to support multiple accounts or multiple device tracking under one account. So I'd recommend just creating an account, super easy to do. We do have a feature coming where you can start to search for scannees names and being able to filter through that, especially through the history tab. I believe that will be part of our app update in March. So that will be coming soon where you can sort through those. And then I think the other thing too is, diet, some questions about diet. We are not right now explicitly saying anything specific about diet, but like that clinical study showed, we do have indicators and results that go and show typical foods that are associated with a lower or higher score, and how that can impact it. So I think those were all the questions mainly that were submitted beforehand. I see some other questions coming through. Pat, I'll turn it back to you. I don't know what our time looks like, but I hope that we at least covered the majority of the topics that people were asking about.
Okay, well, I can say here, yes, that's no
No,
question.
actually, it's
Up to
only,
you,
only
Hailey. Okay.
yeah. Pat, I think we're only it is only 45 minutes into the program. I see questions in asking. Let's see. The future. Somebody asked about the future of Prism IO. Aside from carotenoid, can it measure other numbers in the body?
Yeah, so right now, again, we're just focusing on carotenoids, but we are always looking at the future. We are always wanting to see how we can take this technology further. And so right now, I can't confirm anything, but I do want you to know that just we have tons of clinical studies queued up. And again, just because we've launched the device does not mean that we are done developing or we are working on other things, right? We are still putting all of our focus and energy into Prism IO and seeing how we can continue to improve it, even though it's now in the field. One thing that I think is fun to mention, we have over 700,000 scans that have been done over the last 3 months. I think we've been live for 3 months now globally with Prism IO. And so that's a lot of data we are collecting. And so our team is very, very busy getting to work and seeing what insights we can continue to gather as we scan the world.
Mm-hmm. I think Mallory wants to know, can we forget one device to use the other? Since we're
Yes.
one account, since we're like me and Pat, so I have my Prism and Pat has his Prism, but we are under the same account. So it's kind of a little bit messy here and there.
Yes, so you can forget the device. So in the device menu, there's like the gear icon in the top right hand corner when you're on a device. When you click on the gear icon, you scroll all the way down the bottom, it says forget device. So let's say, you know, Pat and Marguerite, they decide that they don't want to share the same account with their two devices. You can go and forget a device so that someone can go and pair it again and just go and create a new account. Again, sign up on newskin.com if you want to just make a customer account or an affiliate account.
No, then
and
you
then sign in.
lose all the data. When you
Yeah, so
actually,
right now that is the way that we don't have a way to transfer it right now. So that's the best solution. So I would recommend getting on those different accounts.
So
you
you're
can
saying, so are you saying that maybe with our account, since both of us, one of us should sign up as a member
Mhm.
under the original account and use the member to do the second
Yeah.
Prism?
All right.
Correct.
Can you
If
still-
you want to go and see those two results. Yeah.
Margaret can sign up as a member.
Okay,
Sorry,
I'll be
Marguerite.
that's okay. Let's see.
Well, that's one request, okay? Can we get the slides? That you have?
He wants your slides. People,
Oh,
everybody wants slides.
No.
I know.
This recording will be available with
Yep.
your,
Yep.
okay? So they can make slides out of this.
Very, very true. Yeah. Let me talk with the account managers. I'm sure that'll be fine, but I just need to check a few boxes on my side before I can do that.
Okay. May I
Okay.
ask, can we raise the number from 1,000 to maybe 1,200 or 1,300? Because let me tell you, because I am
That's coming from
1,000.
someone who's been consistently scanning at 1,000.
Yeah. So I get
That was
scanned
very impressive.
1,000. Even I have a cold, I get 1,000. I
Wow.
travel on the airplane, I get 1,000. So for me, there's no fluctuation. I can't see it. But in our scanner, scan 3, I can tell because I'm 133,000. So I could come see it go down to 90,000, go up to 110, you know, things like that.
Marguerite, I think you just need to teach us your ways. Help all of us get into the 1,000. But this is something we're looking at. We're looking at the data as it's coming through. Is that possible? Yes, it's totally possible. But it's something we're just discussing, making sure it's the right decision as we look at the data as it's coming through as well. So we'll let you know if that's an update that we end up.
Yeah, because we have
releasing.
9%. If we have 9% of 700,000 scan, you know, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's over 1,000.
Yeah, but purple's not over 1,000. Purple starts at 750. So the percent of people over 1,000, I want to say, is 1%. Last I looked, so very, very small. But yeah, purple starts at 750. The bulk of people fall in the 700 to 800 range that are in the purple zone.
Okay.
Need a new color, maybe violet or something.
We
Yeah,
have violet, isn't it?
we could do another color. The possibilities are
Oh.
endless.
Yeah. Hi,
Yes.
Haley. This is Wen and Eugene.
Hello, how are you
We are
guys?
in New York. We miss you. You got to come back
Miss
here.
you too.
So, quick question, because I actually just submitted a question ahead of time, but When we do the using the new app, we fill out what is the supplement we are taking we taking everything for over 30 years, but the
Yeah.
recommendation still recommend us to take Lipac or take eye formula or cartilage, even though we are already on. So why?
So great question. I've had a lot of people ask this question too. So when we were developing the AI recommendation, we had two different schools of thought. One thought was, hey, recommend products that people aren't on, right? Because we want to give people additional products that they can buy. The other thought was, well, if I've been taking LifePak for however many years, right, or youth, but it's not recommended to me, does that mean that I should stop taking products that I'm currently on? And so the decision was to recommend products, even if they are already on them, to help reaffirm the products they can continue to take. But that was just for our first iteration of the product recommendation engine, is what we call the AI recommendation for product. The next iteration that we're working on, this will probably come Q2, so probably around early summertime, that we want to be able to actually go and say, okay, we know you're on these products, keep taking them, right? If this is what we recommend, but then in addition, you could start to take X, Y, and Z. So it's just that's how we designed it so far. Again, to just reaffirm and say, yep, you should be taking LifePak. If you already are, great, stay on it. If not, here are other options. The next phase of that, we'll just go and say, okay, we know you're on it. Here are other options that you should take. So coming in the next couple of months.
Oh, okay.
Great.
But my curiosity is, say we've been taking 10 different Pharmanex products, but the AI will only recommend Lipac, eye formula, and cartilage formula. Why they select just 3 out of the 10 that we are taking? Is there any particular meaning to it?
So for the AI engine right now, we actually aren't looking at the products you're currently taking. We look at your score and we look at your PRISM profile. So the things that you've given about your lifestyle, what you eat, exercise, sleep, all of that, and then that funnels into the recommendation. The product list right now is for us to start to understand, what products are people taking and does that correlate with scores. And so even though you've said you're taking those products, the AI is looking at your lifestyle, age, score, everything you put into that to then give the product recommendation. So again, that was part of that first iteration of recommendation engine. Coming with the second iteration again later in this middle of this year, we'll start to funnel in and say, okay, we know you are taking these 10. How does that actually impact and change the recommendation? So it's just because the AI is looking at those lifestyle and factors and weighing that more heavily.
Well,
How
in
about
that,
eye
what-
formula?
in
Eye
that-
formula. Is there a particular meaning for eye formula? Why they recommend eye formula?
Again, that's what happens when we hand it to AI, right? And so it's pulling in different things that can contribute to that, right? Especially looking at like sun exposure, elements like that will pull those levers a little differently for the AI recommendation engine. So as part of that, I can't go and say exactly why, because right when you ask AI, it comes up with its own thought process. But again, we're still refining that engine, even though it is AI, we can start to inform it better and guide it a little bit better. And so that's all effort that's going on right now.
The
Hailey, I
reason I'm
have a
saying that
question.
is my
go ahead.
only challenge is my eyesight. That's my only challenge. And the AI recommended eye formula.
Right. So is it
So I don't know
Right.
whether what they do the scan, they notice my eye vision is not, it's being
it's just looking at what you filled into that PRISM profile and your score. Yeah.
Hailey, I have a question. Thank you for this, by the way. It's Tommy. Hey.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Hi, Tommy.
Finally got this going. All right, this is the most simple of questions. It says scan guest, scan miss. What is miss? MYS? What is that?
Oh, it's scan myself. This is an artifact of your phone's font. So if you increase your font on your phone size, sometimes that causes the text to run off. We do our best to accommodate all phone sizes, all font sizes, and things like that. But that happens when you have really large text and it can't fit all the way into the bubble. So
make the font
it's normally in like your phone settings, like under display or something. You have a way to adjust your font size. We're continuing to refine it, but there's so many phones out there in the world and so many different screen sizes
no
and
doubt.
the fonts, the way they display it. sometimes it's hard to make it look perfect for everyone.
I thought it was Miss for mystery, like because I couldn't see it. But
It
all
could be a
right,
mystery person.
font,
So
font. Okay, font size. Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Hailey, one question. According to what you're saying, you're measuring 4 factors or something, right? This activities and BMI and all that. Wouldn't it be wise for us to ask our customer to do the assessment?
Hmm.
Otherwise,
Yes.
they'll be put, right?
Correct. And I would encourage, so right now, what we were talking about before with the AI recommendation, if you don't fill out your Prism profile, we only recommend products off of your score and the market that you're in, right? It's not personalized to you. And so when you're scanning customers, you may see that if they're not filling out the profile, you're getting the same recommendation for everyone. And that's because we need that Prism profile in order to create more personalized recommendations. And so, that hopefully is kind of a motivator for people to want to fill out that information so they can actually get a recommendation that is tailored and custom to them and not just kind of a more generic one
May I ask
based
a
on their
question?
market.
I see.
Yeah.
May I
I
ask
see.
a question? So, can you hear me, by the way?
Yes,
Is
I
this?
All
can
right,
hear you.
perfect. Yeah, so I'm Hansel Conroy. Nice to meet everybody. It's my first time on here. I own a gym, and I was invited, and I actually got to use the product. Allison Lee actually showed it to me. I just got a quick question because, like, I have a lot of like herb stuff that I do at the gym, and we talk about diet and a whole bunch of other things like that. I
Mhm.
kind of want to see how I can place this in there. So what you're telling me, I kind of got in the middle of this. I'm just maybe I might be talking, like something you already covered. So there's a little disc called what is it? The Prism, right? I've
Mhm.
tried it out, and I remember it gave me a score. I was kind of like in the yellow to the green, like a little bit there. Clearly, I got to do better because I look at the technology and stuff like that. If I have multiple people coming in, right? And they just kind of did it like I did it. I just press my finger on it, right? And then it gives me a score, right? It just kind of tells me if I'm, kind of like not optimized, right? Now, if I
Mhm.
want to, and I can do that without anybody that comes in through the gym. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
That
Yep.
is
There's
All
those
right.
different modes. Yep. And you can do that scan a guest one, and that's where you can start to track other
Got
people
it.
have other
Because
people
some
scan.
people will be like, "Hey, do you want?" And then the other question is like, to get better results, right?
Mhm.
They would have to technically go online and then fill out something to get them in a profile, and that way, can they use my disc or the Prism, or do they have to buy their own?
So it just depends. And I don't know, Pat Marguerite, I don't know if you all also want to take this
Okay.
question. Oh,
Yeah, this is, I think we have a brand new guest on this talk right now, and he has a gym. So yes, you will be, if you have a Prism itself, we would love to have you to join Allison to become part of her group, like ideally a BA. Then when you have any amount of guests, if you have 200, 300, or if you just have 20, they could come and measure, and naturally the Prism, your cell phone, your little, either you use on your iPad, you will recommend the product that they should take. And then the product they should take, we company does carry a 60-day warranty, which I don't think, if you carry herbs, they can test again in 2 months, but your herb cannot give them a guarantee, say their number will go up or money back.
Okay, I was just wondering about that.
Okay, thank you. I think there's a question. Question.
yeah, I probably have time for one more. I'm so sorry. I have another meeting in 1
Oh,
minute, but I
okay.
could probably do
Okay.
one more question if that's okay.
Okay, I'm trying to read JLM. I call it several times that we are scanning someone. We get an error message that says device is not connected. And then when we try again, well, at first we thought it was because the device was far from the phone. JLM, can you speak?
Hi, Marguerite. It's Lisa Magtibay
Oh,
from Manila.
oh,
Sorry, I'm driving but listening in.
okay. So you have
Yeah,
someone that,
so
go
yeah,
ahead.
Haley, thank you for this. So the question that I have is, while we are about to start the scan. So we're about to start the scan. So the device is connected to our device. The Prism is connected to our iPad. And then when they put their finger on the device, we sometimes get an error message that says device is not connected. So we have to repeat it several times. So we were wondering what was causing that, because at first we thought the Prism was far from the iPad because it's a Bluetooth connection. But even when it's near each other, there is still that error message. So we wanted to know what was causing the error message.
Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. Marguerite, if you have her contact information, I wonder actually if I can just reach out to you separately, because that's something I'd want to look at and see. That's not something we typically encounter. So I'm sorry about that, but I'd love to ask you more in-depth questions about it.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Someone's asking, will there be a future integration between Vera app and Prism ecosystem?
Still to be determined. We've got a lot of different ideas that we're talking about internally. So no answers to that yet.
Okay, that's by FF. I do not know who is FF. So I'm trying to figure, let me take a picture of this.
Okay, I think Hailey has another meeting coming up.
I know. Okay, so that's it.
Okay, guys.
I think all these other questions can be answered.
Thank you, Hailey.
Yeah, thank you, Hailey.
Thank you,
Thank
Haley.
you, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Haley, that was
Thank you, Hailey.
Yeah, you
so
look
much.
beautiful, Haley.
Thank you, Pat and
Thank you so
Marguerite.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Pat.
I love you.
Thank you, Hailey, and thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Okay. Okay, Pat, you need to.
Marguerite, we need to ask her to come for
I know.
Pennsylvania.
We forgot to ask